Hello, welcome to the call. This is Omar Briones with Infopreneur Agency, and here we are talking about the funnel and marketing campaign, the entire process from start to finish. Now, this is going to be a very intense call. I mean, we're going to cover pretty much everything, like I said, so make sure you take lots of notes, but keep in mind, I'm giving you the big picture on this call here because I want you to see how it all connects together. And then later on, we're going to go into the more tactical stuff and show you the actual tools and the processes that we use for each of these things. So let's begin right now. So what I'm going to show you right here is basically the typical process that we use for new clients that are completely newbies. They're startups, or they already have something established, but they are just getting started online. All right, they've never built a sales funnel in their life. So, of course, this is going to vary from client to client, right? So this particular one is going to show you if someone was completely new. And typically what a client would need from the beginning is a complete blueprint from the development of the project itself, meaning the funnel and the copy and the ad campaigns, all that good stuff, all the way to promoting and launching and growing the ad. So to break it down, I've made these 6 phases, all right? I'm going to talk more about these on the call, all right? So these are the 6 phases. Plan and prepare, okay? That's getting the marketing plan ready. Strategize, okay? That's getting the core, the unique value proposition, the angle, the thing, the marketing blueprint itself, so we know exactly what we're going to do. And then creating and producing it, developing the actual copy and the funnel and the marketing campaign. And then once it's created, we launch it. But I write pre-launch because this is just really to test it out. Okay, so we do a test campaign, and then once we test out that campaign, we make modifications by little maybe changing the color of the ad, or changing the color of the text, or changing the wording completely, the images. We test everything, right? We can even test the audience, test all of that, and then we optimize it, okay? Meaning we get rid of the losers and keep the winners, and we keep tweaking the winners to make it even better. Then once we have an awesome winning campaign that's profitable, then we go to a full-on launch. And that means doing all kinds of other marketing tactics and expanding into different ventures, right? So I'm going to go into these one by one, and some of this might be review for you, and some of it might be completely new. So just be ready to take lots of notes, all right? So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the first phase, okay? And that is to plan and prepare, all right? So how this usually works is, in the beginning, we have a questionnaire that the client fills out. And depending on who the client is, how well we know them, we'll give them a custom questionnaire. Sometimes we don't need a whole bunch of information, but we have a huge questionnaire with 100 questions on it that goes into every little bit of the business completely from the beginning. The reason we want to know everything about the business, actually, let me just make this easier for us. So let's focus on client questionnaire here. I'm just going to keep that on here so you guys see that. So the reason we want to know everything about the business first is because we don't know, like, in order to give a client direction to a place, right? So like, let's say their destination is, to make a certain income goal, okay? And, they have all kinds of goals, right? So this is their destination, but we don't know we can't give them direction to it without knowing where they are on the map. We need to see exactly where are they right here compared to their competitors, compared to all the other things out there. There's a lot of obstacles in the way. What products do they have right now? What kind of processes and funnels do they have right now, if they have any, right? What resources they have, etc. So the goal is to guide the user, the client, to the right direction to avoid any kind of obstacles and get them to their goal as efficient as possible. And we do that by leveraging what they have right now, their assets, their value, their credibility, everything they have, the resources, all that, and we guide them through the process to get to their goal, right? So we need to know, that's the purpose of the questionnaire. We need to know where they are on this map in order to give them proper directions, okay? So that is the reason for the questionnaire. All right, the second thing that I mentioned here is the second step is a discovery call. So after they fill out the questionnaire, we have what's typically called in the industry a discovery call. And it's basically what it sounds like. It's to discover what it is that they're looking for themselves, what is their goal, and what are they after, and also what are we going to be able to do for them. And if we're not able to do something for them, we're not able to actually help them reach their goal, which does happen, we would point them to the right direction, right? So number one important thing, keep in mind, by the way, this is for your business. I'm teaching you how to do this for your business, but this is also, what we do in our business. So I want to give you a tip. If you're going to have this discovery call, don't just take on every single client, right? That's a big mistake you can make. It would waste you a bunch of time, energy, and all kinds of, frustration. It'll cause a lot of frustration if you get the wrong clients, okay? So it's really important on this discovery call to really discover if this client is worth your time and if it's actually something that you can actually help them with, right? And just be honest, if it's not something that you can help them with yourself, or if they're just not at the stage that they need to be in order, to qualify to be your target audience or your ideal client, don't even bother. Just point them to the resource they need to get to that point. And then once they get to that point, then you can have them have another call with you, right? To touch base. So that's basically the discovery call, basically finding out what they do, what are they looking to do, and what we can do for them, right? And that is a collaboration, as you see. So the next step in the planning and preparing phase is doing market research, right? And this is our job here. So once we know about their company and we ask them more questions on the discovery call, on the market, from there we have to do market research to find out even more information about their business and their competitors and everything that's out there that even they don't know about, okay? So the questionnaire form is helpful. They're gonna know a lot of stuff about their business, but they're not gonna know everything, okay? Most likely. That's why they hire, agencies and, consultants to help them with this. So what the market research looks like, it's a bunch of different stuff that we look for, okay? So I'm gonna go over what we look for. First thing first is we look at their actual website and web presence. So we Google search their name and their business, look for them on Facebook and social media, see what they have going on and see what people are saying about them. So one resource that's super huge for this is Google and also Google Alerts, okay? Using Google Alerts, you can basically, you just go to google.com/alerts. You'll be able to set up what's called the Google Alert to send you notifications whenever some keyword or key phrase has been mentioned. So if you go there and you type in the client's name in quotations, it will send an email to you anytime that keyword is mentioned anywhere online. It takes, a few hours or a couple days to, populate. But once it's set up, it sends you an email anytime you want it to go out, and you can look for anything. So we look for things like the client's name, the business name. We look for reviews for scam, All right, scam is a good keyword. Anything you want to know, because you want to know the good and the bad. All right. So Google Alerts is one thing. We're finding out their reputation online. Okay. The second thing we do is we look for their competition. Okay. Competitors. And we want to see actually who are the best competitors, meaning who are their biggest competitors, you know. And honestly, just you know, full disclosure, I say competitors just to, you know, because that's a common phrase you might know about. But in reality, these competitors, so-called competitors, are actually potential business partners, right? There are certain times when they are 100% competitors and there's no way you can ever partner with them. That is only in the case where you guys are selling the exact same product. That is very rare. But if it's the same audience, but it's just slightly different kind of product, then they're not really competitors. In reality, they are potential joint venture partners. But we'll get into that in a moment. Don't worry about that. Just want to point that out. So what we look for in competitors are the top sellers, okay? So top sellers, the most popular products, right? So that's basically another way of saying it, but let's just put that in here so you can see. All right. So one resource that we use for this, which is absolutely gold mine for this, is Clickbank. Okay. You go to Clickbank, it's a really good resource, and I'm also going to write another one that we use is Jvzoo, right? So clickbank.com and jvzoo.com, those are marketplaces where other digital marketers, they can host their products on these marketplaces and sell them. And it's also a good place to find partners to promote your product for you. So what we do, if we go to those sites like Clickbank, for example, you can sort the results by category and put filters such as best sellers, right? Most popular, etc. Right? So we look for the most popular items out there, best-selling products. And another resource that you can use is just forums in general. So if you go to Google, type in the keyword, phrase, whatever it is related to that topic, and then forum, you'll find some forums that are out there, right? And that's also a good place to find out some general information of what people are saying about the industry, okay? So on here, we're finding the top sellers, and then on the top sellers, we want to know information about those products. So what do we want to know? We want to know, all right, make a list here. So we want to know how much they're selling for, okay? So the price, and we also want to know how many products do they sell every so often. So every month, it'll even tell you how many sales did it get. So you sort it by the top sellers, and if you see something that's selling 1,000 products per month, and then the next best seller is only selling like 20 per month, definitely the one that's selling 1,000 a month is the one we really want to know more about, right? So how many, the volume, right? And the other thing is their angles. We'll call it angles or hooks, okay? What do I mean by that? Well, it's basically the unique value proposition, the thing that makes people want to buy that product versus the others. What are they offering, okay? So what are the benefits? What are they promoting in this offer, okay? So that is really what we're looking for. And that comes, basically that's pretty much the gist of what we're looking for in the competition. And once we find this list of competition, we put them onto like a spreadsheet, right? And we use software for this, by the way. So keep in mind, this is, we use software to help automate all of this, And the other thing that we want to look for is the keywords, okay? Because the internet, especially the search engines, it's all keywords. Everything is keywords, basically. So we're finding keywords, and anywhere, we want to find out what keywords people are typing in related to this product or this industry that lead them to that page. And we use software for that, right? So a typical one is Google Keyword Tool. If you just go to Google and type in Google Keyword Tool, you'll find this thing called the AdWords Keyword Tool. You have to have a Google account to set this up, but it's free. And then you just put in the website URL that you want to search for, and it'll give you the keywords that are related that people are typing in to get to that page. So again, we have software that does this even on a more intense level, and that's what we would use. But a typical one is Google Keyword Tool. All right, so we find out the keywords, and finally, we look for their social profiles. And social profiles, it doesn't just mean the pages of the product owners, right? I'm talking about the social profiles and the target. I should probably just clarify this. This is the target audience. The target audience from the people that are on social media, all right? So what I mean by that, those are Facebook groups, they're LinkedIn groups, whatever it is. They like a certain page, all right? People who like a certain page are typically going to want to buy this product, if that makes sense. So we can find that out also with software that we have, right? So the market research is very intense, it's very in-depth, and this seriously takes a few days at least. It takes at least maybe a week to really do some in-depth stuff, at least a week, okay? A keyword at least. It's probably gonna take 2 to 3 weeks, all right? To not only do the research, but also gather it and put it onto a spreadsheet to organize it, okay? So once that's done, after we have the research, then we go back to the client and we collaborate together on the analysis. So we analyze the data. We have actually already done some analysis while we're doing the research, and we're putting on a spreadsheet, we're organizing it, and we're noticing little patterns of, for example, keywords that are getting high search volume and they have low competition, or keywords that have a high what's called cost per click. And that means people are spending a lot of money to bid on those keywords. That would mean that most likely that keyword has a high market value, right? Because people wouldn't spend money on ads constantly, especially a lot of money, if they're not actually making money from it. So if you have a keyword that has a high cost per click, most likely that is a winner, okay? Etc. So we're finding these little patterns, and we make our little marks on the spreadsheet. We make like a highlighted field, etc. And then we bring it to the client, and the client sees all of this information, and together, then we decide, based on this information, what should we do together, okay? So it's just to analyze it, and this is just basically a phone call that takes maybe an hour or no more than 2 hours just to kind of go over the data, right? And then once that is done, then it's time for the next phase, which is to strategize, right? So strategizing, to clarify, this is to just get now that we have all the information, now let's make a plan. All right, what are we going to do with this information? How are we going to actually implement it and execute an awesome, marketing campaign based on this info? All right, so we do this together with the client as a collaboration, and as an agency on our own, we brainstorm, so we can save the client, from having to do any kind of extra, unnecessary strategizing, right? So he's involved or she is involved whenever they feel like it, but it's not necessary for them to be on this session. First thing we do to strategize is we choose the first 2 to 3 hook variations. The hook, again, is the thing that we hook them in, right? So, the reason we use the word hook is basically imagine, a fish, like you're fishing, right? I don't really fish, but I don't even know how to draw fish. But here is the hook line, right? You hook them in, and once they're in, they're in. They're hooked on it forever. So you want to, like, what is that thing that's going to hook them in to bring them in, all right? Bring them into your the funnel, into the ad. What's going to get them? What's going to interrupt them, and what's going to get them into the process, right? Into the funnel. So we just come up with 2 to 3 variations, right? We have some examples, some ideas of what might influence people, okay? And it also depends on where they are, right? As this was mentioned in the last video, where is that person at the moment, okay? What is their mindset, right? Where are they actually physically? Are they on, Facebook? Are they on, sorry, I need to close some windows real quick. Okay, so are they on Facebook or are they on LinkedIn, right? Are they on Google, etc.? So what are they doing? Depending on where they are, they would have a different mindset, okay? And what are they searching for, etc.? So we gotta stop them in their tracks and hook them in, right? So we come up with different variations, different ideas that can get them in. All right, so once we create those variations, then the next step is to create an irresistible offer, all right? And we use the data that we analyzed from our competitors to give us some ideas of what others are offering and, what's like a really good value proposition that we can offer, the client can offer with their resources and their credibility and their assets. So for example, if a client is teaching finances, and this is actually a client that we're actually going to start a project with. So he's teaching how to manage your money, right? If he is completely broke himself, he's never made, his net worth was $1, okay? Let's say hypothetically that was the case. We cannot really leverage his personal experience, right? But what can we leverage? If he really wants to teach this, we're going to encourage him to do whatever he wants. So if he wants to teach finances, but he has like, $1 in his name, how can we do that? So we need to leverage something else that he has in his assets. He might have training and certification from some well-known investing community, university, whatever it is. Or he may have worked with a multi-billionaire for several years, and now he's on his own. He wants to teach what he learned from that, right? So there's all kinds of things we can use based on, the information we have with the client, what they have, to, create that irresistible offer that makes them unique, and also combining it with what we learned from the others, okay? So from the research, and we on our collaboration together. So I want to just point this out. This is a little phrase. I don't know why I love it so much, so I'm just gonna write it down. Okay, so it's best of all, worst of none. You might have heard this before. I'm not sure if you're a fan of this guy. His name is Master Ken. He's a YouTube guy. And he's a martial artist, and this is his phrase: best of all and worst of none. And that's what the mindset is that we should have when we're creating this irresistible offer. When we're doing research to find out what is out there and what people are saying about different products, what their offer is, we want the best of everything, okay? And we want to leave out the worst of them, okay? So we keep the best and we leave the worst. And then we add our own twist to it our own uniqueness, right? Or unique value proposition. And that makes this irresistible offer, right? Then we top it off with bonuses, all kinds of special, things that we can do to entice the offer, right? So there's a lot of that goes into this. This is really writing the copy. This is like coming up with the copy, the essential angle that's going to be entangled, or it's going to be integrated into the copy and the campaign everywhere, right? So anyway, that's basically what you do with the irresistible offer. Best of all, worst of none. Then after that, we set up the marketing, we create a marketing funnel blueprint, right? Now this is, based on the irresistible offer and our hook. Each hook is going to have its own funnel, right? It might have the same, let me just actually draw it out so it makes sense. So as you know, a typical funnel, it would look like, let's say this is an ad, okay? So ad here, and once they click on the ad, then they go to a capture page, okay? Some kind of capture page. There's all kinds of different ways we can do this, right? So it can be a webinar page, it can be a page to get a free book, but if the client doesn't have a book, it's going to be something else. So, we would decide on this based on what the client has. And the whole point of this page is to just capture leads, okay? And then once they opt into that page, they go to the sales page, right? And we like to use video on this page just because it's a lot more personal and it's been proven to convert more. But we want video and a button here. And below this, we can have text if we want, right? So this is the sales page. But I want to just clarify, we can also call this a thank you page, okay? Because once they opt in, it's thank you for opting in. Now, the report is on its way. It's going to be there in about 15 minutes. While you wait, watch this video to learn how to take it to the next level, right? And then that's when we pitch them this product that's, very easy to buy, right? All right, so that is the front end of the funnel. Now, and then after they, click on the sales page, by the way, once they buy, then they go to the order page. And this is, just like to put in their information, basically, okay? Like put in their credit card information and click the order button, right? So that's the order page, and then they start, that's the beginning of the funnel process. Then they start to build a more relationship with you and all that good stuff. The point of me drawing this, by the way, is to show you what this funnel blueprint looks like. But each ad here is an angle, and each capture page or lead page is an angle. But the sales page, it could be the same page anytime. So for example, we'll have another ad here with a totally different angle, okay? And then it'll go to a different capture page that may, resemble this one here, but it's actually a different copy. So the most important thing is that the capture page here, right, is going to match this ad here. So let's just say, keep it simple. This is ad angle 1 matching to the lead page 1. And this here is the ad 2 or angle 2 matching with the lead of the angle 2, right? So they're completely different angles. But the point is, this can still end up going to the same sales page. We don't need to change the sales page. Once we find out which one of these here actually produces income, the most money, right? The most sales. And I totally don't know what I'm drawing there. Then we decide which ad is a winner and which one is a loser, okay? But this is just the blueprint, right? So we're setting up the steps of what we want it to look like, right? Is it gonna be a webinar they're signing up for? Is it gonna be a free ebook or a free report? Is it gonna be enter into a contest? Is it gonna be a quiz? All kinds of different ideas, it depends on what we wanna promote, right? So after we set up the funnel blueprint, next step is setting up the social media promotion blueprint. Right? So no matter who it is, what we're offering them, we want social media in there. If they're not going to invest in their social media marketing, then we're still going to create this blueprint either way because it's essential. We need to know what are they going to do on social media, and we're going to at least mention it to them. It doesn't take that much time to do this, by the way, but it's super worth it because everyone on the internet uses social media in some way, either LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Someone is using some kind of social media, even Google Plus, right? So we need to know, in order to set this blueprint up, it's real simple, and it's simple yet super powerful, you guys. So check this out. So some people don't even think of this, but what we want to know, once we were doing the research, right? We did all that market research, finding out where the groups are and all that. We're just going to choose 3 Facebook or LinkedIn groups that their target audience belongs in, okay? So that's step 1. We choose these 3 LinkedIn or Facebook groups. Once we choose those groups, we know where they are. Now, what we're looking for, by the way, are their target audience. We're going to find out this information in our software. It's going to tell us basically what pages do they like and what groups are they already in. But we're also looking in those groups to find the most interaction, right? That's extremely, extremely important, right? So for us, we're looking for high interaction, and we're also looking for promotion is allowed, okay? Let's just write that in there. So it means that we are allowed to promote our pages and our websites in that group. Believe it or not, unfortunately, most groups, they are super, super strict with this. They will not allow you to promote things. Don't ask me why. People just spam and they abused it. So it became a common practice. It's a kind of a sad moment, right? But there are what's called a promotion day, where sometimes they have promotion Friday, promotion Monday, networking Monday, whatever it is. They call it different things. So we need to find the rules of that group and at least see if they allow at least once a week that there's some time you can promote your page or whatever you want to do on that group, right? Unfortunate downside of this is that everyone's promoting and not many people are actually buying, okay? But anyway, it's not the point for this. So we want to know about promoting, okay? So that is, in a nutshell, that's pretty much what we're looking for. That's it. And making sure that they have a lot of interaction and it's actually our target audience, okay? So once we choose these 3 groups, then we have those groups in a spreadsheet or something to keep track of. And then we choose what we want to promote. Or what we're going to share on Facebook or whatever it is, okay? All right, so the most important things for any kind of social media campaign is that you combine your entertaining and fun kind of post with your educational or promotional post and branding post in a very non-spammy way, in a very subtle way, okay? So here's what we want to look for. So I'm just going to type in the types of things that are good for social media. So things that entertain is one. So to entertain, that these are, by the way, we're not just thinking of stuff that we're going to post that we own ourselves. We're also thinking of stuff that we can find from other pages and YouTube videos, etc. So we want to entertain them and educate them, okay? We also want to inspire them, all right? And empower them, right? So these are kind of cheesy words. You might have heard them many times, but it's kind of the things I've really kind of broken it all down to these things. So from, my 10 years doing this, online and learning from all kinds of trainers, everything, a lot of different, trainers. These are the essentials that you want to blend in with your social media campaign, okay? It's entertain, educate, inspire, and empower. Now, there are different types of things that you can share with them that can blend all of this in together. But while you are doing all of this, you are, in a subtle way, you are branding yourself as an expert, as an approachable person, which is super important on social media. And you're also saying that you're a person in general, like you are a human being with a point of view, and you have things to say, you have emotions, you're not like some robot, right? So different ways you can do this are videos, okay? Videos and news, okay? So videos that are already viral, that are out there, that you like and you love, you want to share, all right? By the way, the point of social media is to share stuff and to make friends, okay? It's not meant to build your business, right? But by sharing things with your friends and building relationships, you are building a network and you're growing your brand and making a good name for yourself, basically. That is good for business, okay? So just keep that in mind, right? As long as you understand the purpose of social media so you don't abuse it, right? So, posting videos that are not just by you, but also by others, videos that you actually like, sharing news, articles, things that are like really pressing in the news, and making your comments on those topics, on anything. So being like standing firm in your beliefs and sharing those. If you think something is, crappy, then say it, If you think something is awesome, say it. Like, don't be afraid to offend someone, okay? That's actually what you need to do, right? So if you have people, hating on you or hating on your point of view, you are doing something right, okay? Keep that in mind. All right, so that's extremely important. And I can go on and on, but really content is what you're thinking of here. So anyway, after we have this information, we want to know what we want to share, all this stuff. Then, by the way, this is just the strategy part. We're not actually, we are not actually getting the content yet. That's the next step. But just by strategizing, knowing what we're going to post, what kind of stuff in general, and where we're going to post it, what groups, etc. Next thing is we are going to set up a plan of how often we want to promote it, okay? So just make a plan of how often we want to promote them. It will make sense in the next step, all right, the next phase, okay? So let me just clear this. Now, the last step for the strategizing is the execution strategy. So what exactly are we going to do? Like step by step, we make a plan, make it all laid out step by step, okay? And sometimes the client is going to want to see this in writing, like for himself or herself. So we have a lot of different projects that we have broken down into very specific tasks that are required for that project. And the reason we don't want to share that with the client is because honestly, it's a lot. Like one project, for example, just to create a membership site, it can take, it's about, I think it's 25 tasks in total. And, you know, anything over like 4 or 5, a list of, you know, 4 or 5 things, it just overwhelms people. So we don't want to, you know, send them, you know, 100 different tasks that need to be done. They're going to get frozen, right? So we create this just for ourselves. It's super important. And we give them the simplified version if they ask for it, okay? But anyway, we want to know exactly what we're going to do. All right, so we have templates that we use, broken down tasks of what is required for this project to be complete, and we customize it for the client specific you know, plan, right? This typically would take a couple days, right? Next phase is to create and produce. So once we have planned and strategized, we want to actually go ahead and start producing the products and the funnels and all that. So this is definitely going to take the most time, okay? The planning takes quite a bit of time, right? It does take quite a bit of time, but this here takes even more time, and you'll see why in a moment. So first step is creating the sales funnel. So I showed you the blueprint, right? We came up with the general blueprint. So we need to actually create those pages. Good thing we have software like Drag and Drop Pro. It makes it extremely easy to do, right? If you use other tools like ClickFunnels or Lead Pages, all those, it's a headache. So definitely would not recommend using other tools for sales funnels on the fly. If you want to make something really quick and awesome and super customized, definitely Drag and Drop Pro is what we would use. And so we just start creating those sales funnels. And there's over 1,000 templates already made. That's another cool thing about Drag and Drop Pro. We have over 1,000 templates all ready to go. You just fill in the blanks and you're good to go. So the sales funnel development is not that much time itself, but to actually write the copy for the sales funnel, the sales pages, that is what takes quite a bit of time. So I'm not going to go into how to write copy. It's a lot, you know, you can learn a lot about this, but there are also templates that we have that we can kind of just use to guide us on what to write in the copy. The longest thing that we're going to take, it's going to take us the longest time to do is the sales page copy or the sales video script copy. But with the help of the information we've gathered before, like the irresistible offer, the hook variations, and, you know, just in general, like what is the unique value proposition of the client, we will be able to create this sales funnel fairly quick, right? So let's say about, I give ourselves about 7 to 14 days to do this, okay? And one more thing actually I need to mention, the sales funnel is not just the pages. So I'm gonna write that down. So this is the pages, and that's what you saw before, the capture page and the sales page and the order page. And there's also the access page. So once they purchase the product, they go to the membership site or they go to the page where they download the product. But it's not just the pages, it's also the ads. And once they opt in to the capture page, they become a lead. And we have to write emails to that client or to those leads. So actual emails, and that's in the autoresponder. So we write the copy for all of this and we put it into place. We actually upload it to the autoresponder and we set it all up, right? Something that's also super important is tracking, okay? So installing the tracking software, we use, you know, Google Analytics is super important. So I'm gonna write that down, super Analytics. And we use link tracking software. All right, and another one I just remembered is good is retargeting pixels. Now, this is a new keyword you might have not heard before. Retargeting is a way to target a person just by them going onto a site. They triggered a pixel, which is like an invisible little dot on the screen that if someone sees that pixel, if their browser sees it, then they are tracked to you. They're tracked to your site, sorry. Then you can advertise to them on Facebook or other places using what's called retargeting marketing, right? So you notice when you go to a website and you exit the page, and the next day you see on Facebook for some reason that ad, that website is promoting to you. You have no idea how they knew that. Well, that's because they're using retargeting. Anyway, so we set all this up here, right? So it's the copy and actually setting it up, right? Okay, so we create the sales funnel pages. And sales funnel, it's everything, pages, copy, emails, etc. Next is the social media pages. And this is pretty straightforward, pretty simple. We use the design that either we created or they provide to, we upload it to their social media pages, and that's it. And then we add the description matching their brand, right? And we add the call to actions, whatever else we prepared in their social media strategy, okay? And we just, add it in there. And then we do the social media campaign development. That is the actual marketing. So the social media promotion blueprint that we created, that is used for this. So here, now, we have chosen the 3 Facebook groups, remember, all right? So I'm gonna clarify what we did. So let me just make this, all right, so we have those 3 Facebook groups or social LinkedIn groups, whatever it is. And we know that we want to promote this, we want to promote entertaining and educational, inspiring, fun types of content. And we know how often we want to post it. Next, we actually have to find that content, okay? And then we schedule it, okay? So that is what this is. We're scheduling posts either by us or by other people to be posted out automatically on certain social media groups and on their page, all right? So it's on the blueprint, and I'm not gonna confuse you with exactly how this is gonna work because it's quite intricate, it's quite complex. We want to kind of make it a very disguised promotion that people won't even notice that you're doing this automatically. It's gonna look very human-like, and they're just gonna really naturally want to follow you and learn more about your services and what you have on your page. So we set it up to schedule, and ideally we want to have anywhere from 60 to 90 days worth, okay? That gives us more than enough time to get our ads going while we're getting our posts out there automatically. And doing this, setting up 60 to 90 days of posts to go out, this can take quite a lot of time. It takes, it can take you, let's say, 7 to 14 days just to find the content, all right? And finding a lot of good content, right? And then scheduling it to go out or organizing it to go in a way that is very, subtly promoting you, but not really, very spammy, right? It's very subtle. And then actually scheduling it into the software. That is another like 7 to 14 days. So we give ourselves 30 days to do this process, right? And that 30 days is happening simultaneously while we are also developing the funnels, okay? So it's all at the same time, right? And Yeah, so I'm gonna actually kind of share a little bit of what we're doing, just so you know what we're doing here. So it's all the different things that we are gonna post, right? So combination of news, your opinion of stuff, your blog posts, your videos, your content, and other people's stuff, entertaining things, fun stuff, etc. So all of those are in, let's say one category is 80% non-promotional, and then 20% is actually promoting stuff, right? It's actual, like, totally, selling something, right? So what we do is we combine them to go out in a way that goes to, for example, group 1 on a certain day, okay? And then we go to another group on a different day, right? So it's different. Let's clarify this. So, oops. So basically, there is quite a bit of a complexity here. I don't want to like overwhelm you, but what's going on is we're promoting one non-promo, we're posting one non-promotional post on one group, and that's it, right? The next day, we promote another group, we promote another post that is promotional on that group. But there's some science behind this. I mean, there's some actual like formula behind this. It's too complex, I think, to explain. But the point is, we're setting it up to go in a kind of in a cycle, to cycle through different groups and different posts to go out in different days. So what happens is, typically when somebody uses a Facebook automation tool, social media automation tool, they send out one post, the same post, to go out into 20 different groups. And it looks completely spammy, right? It's 100% spammy. Everyone just ignores them, right? And it gets really annoying. But by using some very subtle strategies, we can, if we cycle through different promotional material going out to different groups and different days, no one's going to notice, and also in different times, by the way, no one's going to notice that you're using a software, basically, you know? So that is the genius behind this. And I hope, I didn't mean to confuse you with this, but that is basically what we're doing, okay? So anyway, you can ignore the complex picture I just made. I don't even know if it makes sense there. Next is the ad and funnel campaign development. Getting back to the text here. So we created the sales funnel, but now we're actually creating the ad and the funnel campaign. So I kind of mixed it together, but it's pretty much the same thing as the sales funnel itself. So let's just, I'll erase that one here. It's pretty much the same thing, okay? So apologize for that. The next step is actually the website development, and that's only if necessary, okay? Sometimes they won't even need a website, all right? But if we're creating a whole brand new sales funnel for them, most likely they would want a new website. And we design it from scratch if they pay for it, to pay for the design. If not, if they are tight on cash or whatever it is, then we work with their budget. But we can use a tool like Drag and Drop Pro to create a website for them. All right. So we just create the website, and that's basically how it goes. And to do that, we have the plan. It's all in the plan. What do they want in there, right? And we just fill in the blanks. So now the next phase is, and I appreciate you following along this far. Hope you're getting a lot out of it. Here, next phase is to pre-launch and to test it, right? So we're testing out those first 2 to 3 ads and those hooks, right? Those unique value propositions, right? And that is pretty much all we're doing. So we're testing out, here I'm gonna write this down. So we're testing out the ad copy, okay? So the actual ad copy, and that is including the angle, right? Or the hook, right? The unique hook. We're also testing out the target audience, because one piece of copy might work for one target audience, but it might not work at all with another target audience, okay? And we decide who the target audience is based on their keywords that we're targeting. If it's on a search, pay-per-click search kind of ad, or if it's like a banner ad targeting, like on Facebook, for example, we target them based on their demographics, where they're located, and things that they like, things that they're groups that they belong to, etc. Right? So we test out different ads, different audience, and once they get into the funnel, once they click on the ad and they opt in, we're also targeting the capture page. We're testing out the capture page to see if they actually opt in. And then we're testing out the sales page, okay? So the sales page, that is one of the most important parts. Once that's gonna help us make money, right? When we actually sell stuff. But the most important page that we test out the most, might recall this from last call, is the order page. And this is where the most anxiety happens and the most regret happens and the most friction happens. They're thinking, oh my God, should I really get this? Is it really worth it? And then they start thinking about, how much money they have, all that stuff, are the bills, whatever else. So the order page is the most important thing that we test out. We test out different testimonials on that page. We test out different headlines, different bullet points you want to put on there. How many fields do we want to ask? How many things we want to ask them, So again, the order page we test. So the other thing is the emails, okay? Now the emails, I'm going to tell you right now, people get hung up completely on the emails because it's a lot of work to do. It definitely is. It's probably the most daunting task in funnel development, actually writing the emails and putting it into the sequence in a way that really brands you and makes you stand out and actually get sales. But, we have our secret formulas, to do this. So, it's just taking a lot of time to create this formula, right? But even with the best practices and the best formulas, you still can, have a whole funnel here, all the pages all converting awesomely, making sales. But if your emails are not building you, creating passive income, if you're not selling stuff in the back end, you are missing out on a lot of money and your client's missing out on money. So it's something that's inevitable that you have to test, right? So we test different emails. Which ones are they going to click on? Which ones did they not click on? And we save the ones that they clicked on or the ones that they opened the most and got the most sales, which are the most important. We save those for, good, like something to use in the future, right? And so we're testing it out, and this is the pre-launch. I've mentioned this before in the beginning. It's not really officially the launch yet, but we're just getting it out there just to see how it's performing. Okay. And the other thing that we're gonna do, I'm just gonna write this in here. It's pretty much the same kind of. It goes along hand in hand in this. The next task in this phase is social media campaigns. So we launch the social media campaigns, right? that's basically all we do there. All right. Now that we have go ahead and promoted these ads and we're testing things out, then we start to tweak things, okay? And first, what we do is we analyze the information that we're getting from our tests. So we actually use these softwares that allow you to see who's clicking, how many clicks each ad gets, how many sales they actually get. All right, and this is actually where the pixels come in. They're not just good for just retargeting, but ideally, actually, we're using them to track how many sales are we getting from an ad. So let me just actually draw this out for you so you actually know how this works. It might seem like magic to you, but it's very simple. So let's say again, so here's our ad, right? So the ad, they click on the ad, and then they go to the capture page, and then they go to the sales page, and then they go to the order page, and this is where the money happens, okay? This is where the transaction actually happens. All right, and then once they purchase, then they go to the thank you page, or the access page. All right, this is the membership site, etc. All right, so what we do is with our pixel, all right, just this tracking, this little tiny code, it's a pixel. If you don't know what a pixel is, this is a pixel. I don't know if you can see that, it's a little dot, right? And it's invisible. So we put that onto this page. We put it on all the pages, but here we put a special pixel on this one, the actual access page. So what happens is if somebody clicked on this ad, then they go through all this process, right? They order it, then they get onto the access page. They would not be on the access page if they didn't purchase it, okay? So that's how we know if they purchased, we know that they spent a certain amount of money. We know how much they spent based on what we offered, right? And we know how much we spent on the actual ad because we know how much we spent, right? We're keeping track of our budget. So what happens is we can actually see how many people clicked on the ad and how many people who clicked on the ad opted in, okay? And then once they opted in, how many people from there went to the sales page and actually went to the order page? And then from the order page, how many of those actually bought it, right? And the same thing happens in reverse. If they say no or they exit, we know which ones exited, who just, ended their browsing experience. And either way, the whole point of them getting in here in the capture page is now they get emails, all right? So constantly getting awesome emails, good, valuable information, content, all the same kind of stuff we're putting on our Facebook and social media, news, educational, entertaining, awesome, good stuff, and helping them solve their problems. They're eventually, at some point, most likely going to check out the sales page again, or if they haven't already, they're going to end up going to the sales page again. And they might not buy it then, but then maybe 5 days later or even a whole year later, they eventually decide, you know what, I'm going to get this thing. I've been saving up for it. I'm ready for it. Now they're ready to buy it and they become a customer. So anyway, that's why we're testing out different emails. We're testing out different ads, different everything. So we can see which one makes the most money. It's the most important thing, right? You might hear, by the way, things like, build a huge list. You got to build a huge list. You got to, that's like the biggest myth, I'd say. The list, money is not in the list. It's in the money you make from the list, right? So it's actually the emails that you send out that's going to make you money, right? So that's why you need to test out those emails, test out the copy, test out the pages. Maybe nobody's buying when they get on the sales page. Nobody's even clicking the order button, right? Or maybe when they get to the order page, maybe they do. A lot of people click on the order button, but when they get to the order page, they freak out, or they see a testimonial that they don't connect with, or they don't see any testimonials and they're like, you know what, I'm too skeptical. This is not, I can't trust this guy. They just opt out. They don't want to buy it. And that's it. You lost your sale. So that's why we test everything out, right? So what we're doing here, and this pretty much goes hand in hand with what we're saying. Once we, test everything out, we tweak, I don't know what's happening. What we're doing here essentially is we are going to pause the losers and split test the winners, all right? So for those who don't know what split testing means, so we're pausing the losers, the ones that we're just losing money. It is not worth it. This ad is not, like, if no one is clicking on the ad, then the ad is a loser, okay? If they're clicking on the ad, right, but they're not opting in, then the capture page is a loser. You get the point? So we find out where they're stopping in the funnel process, and that's where we pause it, or we tweak it somehow, okay? So if it's complete, if they're going through the whole entire process, by the way, they actually buy, we get at least one sale, then we see that it's not worth it, we're actually losing money, that is a loser, okay? They can go through the whole entire process and we'll still see that we're losing money. That's still a loser, right? But then we split test the winners. So if we actually see that in a campaign, all of this is a campaign, by the way, everything here. So when they go through the whole entire campaign and we actually see that we're making money, right? That's awesome. It's a great thing, right? But we want to make it we want to make even more money. So how do we do that? We split test and we see if we can make it even less expensive for us, so we can spend less money on the ad. That's one way to make money, make more money. The other way is to just test a different approach, a different audience, or a different angle, a different piece of copy, whatever, or a different sequence in emails. Again, this is a lot of, I know this is ongoing, a lot of work. That's why it costs. That's why we charge $5,000 a month at least as a retainer to do this, right? So it's, it's either that or we actually own a piece of the company. So we wouldn't do this, without the potential of making at least, like 50 to 100,000 a year per client, right? So anyway, that's why, it takes a lot of time to do this, and the whole point of this is to find out which ones are making the most money. So anyway, to clarify, one more thing I want to say, what does split test mean? Basically, any element here, we can create a duplicate. How it works is an ad or a page, anything in here, we can duplicate it, and it's a complete carbon copy clone of that element, but we're only testing one thing. So each duplicate, each test is to test out one little tiny thing. If you test out the headline copy and you change the headline color, that's two things. So you won't know which one is going to actually make you more money. That's why if you want to test out the headline copy and the headline color, then just make another copy. One will be with the color and one would be with the copy. And it goes on, testing out the images, testing out anything, everything you can possibly think of, okay? Another approach, by the way, is just setting up a completely different angle altogether. But that technically is not really, we wouldn't really call that a split test because it's it's just a completely different campaign, right? But maybe we want to test out a totally different ad, a different angle, and they end up going to this capture page, right? That is a possibility. Anyway, so this is the whole process here. This is what your job would be as a funnel optimization specialist, right? So constantly doing this, and you're using software to automate this process, okay? Even so, you're still involved in a lot of it, right? You gotta do a lot of work. All right, so wrapping it up, there's one final phase in this whole process. Now that we have launched, we've set it up, we got the campaign out there, we've optimized it for success. Then next is to scale it to the next level, right? Launching it officially to the public. And we only do this after, after we have at least one winner, all right? So if you have one winner, one campaign that is making profit, then you can expand and launch it to the public in a whole another level, okay? And you do this every single day, right? This is ongoing, just like the optimizing, okay? Optimizing, I'll admit, it's not every single day. It might be every 2 days, okay? Because you want to give a campaign at least 24 hours, maybe 48 hours to get some information, to gather some data, right? So you want at least, like, let's say 500 to 1,000 visitors to a campaign to see some actual tangible results. Ideally, if you can afford it, if the client has the budget, 10,000 is a good number. If we can get 10,000 visitors, we can see for sure if this is the right audience or if it's the right angle, etc. But let's say 1,000 is good enough, all right, to test something out. Anyway, so some examples I want to share with you here of things that we would do to launch and to scale to another level. What I mean by this, how big am I talking? So let's just see if I can make this come up here. All right. So some examples: webinar presentations. All right, setting up a webinar. Also, auto webinar, automated webinar. All right, if that wasn't already part of the process. Guest blogging, meaning getting on other people's blogs to blog as yourself as an authority, right? And same goes for getting yourself in the media, in press, meaning actual news, okay? Being in the news. And believe it or not, this is actually quite easy to do. You don't need to be a total celebrity right now to do it, okay? You just need the right angle, you need some leverage, and the right resources you can get in there. And we got the resources for you. Next, another idea is to get into the radio, all right? Actual radio, like on, talk radio and on podcasts. Same thing goes for this. You just need the connections. You just need to get yourself out there, network, find the resources, the leverage, leverage your network to get into these interviews. And of course, you need to really know how to speak. That's another important thing, right? So if you don't know how to speak, if you've never done it before, you would want to practice, right? You would really need to know your stuff in order to really be comfortable on them. So anyway, I would suggest definitely mastering, or at least getting good at that before going on these. Anyway, next thing is local meetups and conferences, having your own meetup and getting on other people's meetup groups. All right, just go to meetup.com and search for anything related to your target audience, and you will find there are a ton of them out there in your area and a little outside your area if you just do some research. So like for me, for example, I have a house in Albany, New York, and Albany, New York is up north. It's about 2 hours from New York City. Not much happens over there, right? And there's groups like in the Infopreneur or the internet marketing community, maybe about 5 or 10 of them, right? But if I search in New York City, I'll find dozens of them with thousands of members. So just by traveling 2 hours away, I'm cool with that. If I can network and actually speak on stage in front of these people. So anyway, just doing some research, right? So meetups, And guest speaking engagements. It's kind of another way. It's not just meetups, but all kinds of, there's all kinds of ways of getting to be a guest speaker, right? It's there's so many different ways, right? Anyway, also being a keynote speaker is another thing that's a little more advanced, and that you do kind of want to get that authority. You want to be in the media before you do this, okay? So if you have yourself in the media, you've already got yourself out there, you've got traffic, you've got sales, you've got clients, then you can start thinking of being a keynote speaker and actually get some gigs that way, okay? And that means people will actually pay you to speak for them, okay? Next thing is SlideShare promotion. A lot of people don't know about this. If you use SlideShare, I think it's .net, you can upload your slides, like your webinar slides or anything, and it becomes public. You can share it with anyone, and it gets a lot of search volume. So people on Google, if you type in a keyword and slides, or even not even just slides, sometimes you'll just end up on there just doing some kind of research on anything. It's really easy to get ranked for on the front page of Google for your slide presentations. And the cool thing is, once they go through your slide presentation, it's basically a sales pitch. You're promoting your product there, right? Very cool. Next is lead and client acquisition. So getting more leads and more clients. It's a kind of a general term, but what I mean by this is basically finding a way to get more clients that's not the current way that you're doing right now. All right. So that might be offline, it might be like through, I don't know, classified ads in the newspaper, or just talking to people on the bus, or it might even be online. It might be you setting up a LinkedIn group, whatever it is, right? So just general client acquisition, right? Referral and referral rewards program is another one. And this is an actual rewards program you're setting up just like the way they work at, your favorite yogurt shop, wherever it is. You get a stamp anytime you get a yogurt, and then when you have 8, you get something for free. You get a free yogurt, whatever it is. So same thing you can do for your program. Reward people for referring people, and reward them for coming back to you over and over, right? So give them discounts, give them a free thing, whatever it is, right? And there's software to that can help you do that. Joint venture partners is huge, and this is extremely important only after you have your winning campaign. Once you get that winning campaign, getting joint venture partners is extremely easy. You would just use some systems that are out there and networks that are out there, and you find the partners that are willing to promote you. And, you give them a win-win situation. So if you can afford to spend, you can spare 50% of the revenue you make, you can give that person 50% for referring a client to you, all right? Depends on what you're offering, of course. You need to know your numbers. And if you have a winning campaign, they're going to see, oh yeah, so you're getting, every time somebody lands on this page, every time you have like 100 visitors, you're making $100. Then I know I can spend as an affiliate or joint venture, if I refer my clients, if I get 100 people to land on there, I'm going to get $50, So it makes it easy for them to know the numbers that realistically what they can expect. Now, the affiliate referral recruitment, that is another thing. So joint ventures, typically, they'll want you to promote them as well. They want a win-win situation, not just going to make a commission, but an affiliate, right? Or even a sales rep, which is the next one. Basically, they are they're promoting you just alone, and they just want their commission, and that's it. So sales reps, they might even call people, or they might talk to people in person, whatever they do, and you train them. So it's a little different level of getting referrals. You're training them. The same goes for your affiliates. You're training them how to sell your product, okay? And they do it however is, they see fit and how it works for you. So the final thing here is the sponsorship opportunity. And this can be a sponsorship opportunity for you to sponsor an event or some company, right, to get your name out there. Or it can be the vice versa, you getting sponsors for your event. And the cool thing is, if you get sponsors for your event, obviously you're going to get paid by them. But in addition to that, they will actually promote to their audience your event, okay? So it's not like for sure, but most likely they will, because they'll say, hey, we're sponsoring this event. It's coming down in, Los Angeles on the 3rd, etc. So they're gonna, give a shout out to where you're, what the event is, etc. And the call center, like I said, that's if you want to take it to the next level, you get your sales reps, you get a team, and you get a manager to train your sales reps to close sales for you. Now, this might be a bit overwhelming, might be a lot of stuff, right? But again, this is once you're getting your product to sell, you're making profit, then this is like inevitable. You definitely want to do this if you really want to take your business to its potential. You want to get yourself out there as much as possible. So you don't have to do every single little thing here. And that's why we have, Infopreneur agency. We have our resources. We connect you with what you need to get this done. And we make it as easy as possible for you, right? And that's what we do for our clients, right? So if they wanted to, be in the radio, we would first interview them and see how prepared they are. And based on that info, we would see if they're ready for our resource, etc. Now, if somebody wanted to do every single thing here, we would have to make a plan for all of this, right? It's a whole separate campaign, right? Anyway, just want to clarify that. And just to give you an idea what this means, if you get into the media or the radio, let's leave it at that. So just by getting in the media and the radio, that gives you what's called authority. Okay, you get authority and credibility. All right, people, they just automatically say, oh, you're featured in CNN, or you're featured in Insider, whatever magazine, Forbes magazine, etc. You must be an authority. You must be someone special, someone important. They just automatically think that way. All right. Same thing if they write a book. If you write a client writes a book, for some reason, especially if it's a bestseller, which is not really hard to do, they are seen as, some amazing God-like being, right? An authority, right? Because not everyone can get into the media. They don't know what they need to do that, right? And so it serves its purpose. At the same time, you're getting exposure. And what this does, it leads you to getting into keynote speaking and guest speaking, right? And local meetups. So it's all leading to you to get yourself to that next level, right? Now the referrals, joint ventures, and call center, this is all for one thing, and that is making more money. And I'm telling you, it takes it to a whole nother level. This gets you out of the picture, so you don't have to be the one calling people all the time. You don't need to sell stuff yourself all the time. You just have your team selling for you. That is the big picture here. And when you have your system, clean cut, everyone knows what to do, how to represent your company. They're doing it the right way. You are on, you are golden, right? So one of my partners, one of my very good friends, his name is Flo. I worked with him for quite a bit of time on his funnels, and we had our own little call center as well. And it was really, really, really small. It wasn't like a huge thing. And his average sale is about $4,000 for like a website, basically. but we had people selling for this, you know, just this package alone, $4,000. People would close about 200,000 to 300,000 in revenue per month, right? And he wasn't doing any of that. It was all from the call center, all the people, all the sales reps. So just thinking of the possibilities, I want to share that with you. Of course, the developers have to do the work, so it's not all profit, right? But it's still, you know, a significant amount of revenue without him actually having to do any of the work himself, right? So it's the same thing. I want you to think of the idea for you as the person who wants to do this for yourself, and the idea for the client, what we're doing for the client, is we want the client to get out of the picture so he can work on his business and not in the business. That is the ultimate goal. Once you're at that level, then you can consider yourself officially a business owner, right? Being right, as of right now, you are what's called a solopreneur, all right? Even if you have a team of even like 5 or 10 people, if you're on your own, if no one is selling for you, you don't have partners, referral partners, any of that, you are pretty much a solopreneur, okay? So, you know, anyway, that is today's lesson. That was it. So with that said, thank you all for watching. And if you have any questions, if you have any comments, anything you want to talk about, I recommend, again, using this site, infopreneur.zpanel.com, to reach out to me. And if this is not available for any reason, you can find me also on the best place is Facebook, and just go to our Facebook page so I know it's related to this training, okay? Facebook.com/Infopreneur Agency, and send a private message, okay? Say hello, say something funny, whatever you want to say, and we will connect there, all right? So thanks for watching. See you on the next video.